There is an incredible amount of uncertainty that surrounds the change and regulation of these products, not only with respect to the FDA approval process, but also when it comes to litigation. While the FDA has put out a draft guidance titled Implementation of the Deemed to be a Licensed Provision of the Biologics Price Competition and Innovation Act of 2009, that's a mouthful, there still remains a host of questions for innovators and generic biosimilar manufacturers. Now, first of all, there isn't a complete list of all the drugs that will be changed over, as the FDA has only provided an example list in its draft guidance, so it's unclear specifically which drugs will be affected. It's possible that we could see litigation over those determinations alone. Now, for drugs that are affected, there are numerous considerations that will be relevant to the innovators and the generic biosimilar manufacturers. Now, first, for drugs already approved as of March 23, 2020, either through the 505(b)(2) application process or an ANDA, it's not clear how they'll be reassigned as a biologic. Those approved under the 505(b)(2) process could become reference products, biosimilars, or interchangeable biologics. Those approved under the ANDA could be biosimilars or interchangeable biologics. It's very possible that we could see litigation over how these determinations are made alone. So next, are the drugs that are waiting final approval as of March 23, 2020. It's in the draft guidance, the FDA has noted that the changeover between application types will be for all drugs that have not been approved prior to March 23, 2020. Now that means that even tentatively approved drugs could have their applications canceled and would need to submit new applications under the biosimilar pathway, including the additional testing required to establish biosimilarity. Now, this leads to a great deal of uncertainty for generic and biosimilar companies, as they won't necessarily know whether or when their drugs will be approved and what regulations and what litigation options will be available. Now, for any of these drugs involved in ongoing litigations as of March 23, 2020, it's unclear how the litigation may change based on the applications being canceled. The changes could have dramatic impacts given the differences in litigation schemes between a generic and a biosimilar drug. For instance, in a significant difference in the litigation schemes is the 30-month litigation stay under the Hatch-Waxman Act for small molecule drugs. This essentially assures that a specific generic small molecule cannot be approved until 30 months after the notice letter. Now, the BPCIA litigation scheme for biosimilar drugs does not provide for a similar stay. So innovators may need to seek a preliminary injunction to keep a generic turned biosimilar off the market after the application rollover. Now, since drugs such as insulin were not previously regulated as biologics, they're currently listed in the Orange Book along with their relevant patents. And this is different than other biologic drugs and has an impact on litigation because it takes away one of the biosimilar manufacturers' incentives for using the BPCIA patent dance, and that is obtaining a list of patents that potentially require licensing or litigation, since those patents are already listed and publicly available in the Orange Book. Now, it may also lead to more and earlier IPRs since the list of relevant patents will already be known. Now, additionally, the regulatory exclusivities are impacted by the rollover. Now, existing 5-year exclusivities for small molecule drugs will disappear even if they have time left on them, but the 12-year exclusivity for biologic products won't apply. Therefore, there could be new applications coming earlier than they normally would have because these regulatory exclusivities are just not overlapping properly. So this could significantly move up the timing of litigation. Now, biosimilar manufacturers will also face differences when it comes to the exclusivities that they can obtain for being the first on the market. Under Hatch-Waxman, the first generic drug to enter the market receives this 6-month exclusivity. In comparison, the BPCIA only provides for exclusivities for products deemed to be interchangeables, not just biosimilars. And even those may not receive any exclusivity depending on the timing of the litigation. Now, with all the competing interests and uncertainty, it'll be really interesting to see what happens in this space. Now, one situation in particular to watch is with Lantus and its follow-on products. Now, it currently has one approved follow-on product, one tentatively approved product, and one at least pending application that has been accepted by the FDA. It also has pending IPRs and pending litigations. So depending on how this all stands in 2020, this could be a very interesting case study to follow. Now, information about the current status of those cases can be found on Biologics HQ, and we'll be continuing to update and monitor that as it develops.